Look at that. You made it through the weekend. You made it to Monday. We're just kicking off a brand new, freshly unwrapped work week. You're never going to believe this. I know it's shocking, but there was some insane news over the weekend to catch up on. Not all of it bad. Not all of it bad at all, but nonetheless crazy. But that's okay. I'll talk you through this. We'll make sense of this whole thing. But more importantly, what you can do about it. That's what I do. Thanks for finding the Wicked Radio live stream, all part of Wicked Wisdom with Bill Adams. Thanks for being here, as always. Audio podcast listeners, press subscribe. Appreciate you, as always. And if you're watching or listening to this later on, follow along and put notifications on so you know when we're doing something, when something's happening here. Well, a lot to talk about. Here's the great news. That Sydney Sweeney ad is doing great things for American Eagle. And I was looking for this. This is the full circle wrap-up moment of this entire affair. What would American Eagle's reaction be to all this? I think you're going to like it. I think you're going to like it a lot. Trump likes it. He even responded to this thing. You know when an ad campaign is successful and when even the president is very aware of it. He's probably saved it in his bookmarks, and he's watched it like 13 times. I have no idea, but he'll talk about that as well. In scary news, and this was the most insane thing I've ever seen, the New York Times ran an op-ed that picked up steam over the weekend about redefining death. How and why? For organ donation. Now, I'm not going to try to change your mind on this, but I'll tell you, if you are freaked out by this, what you can do for it. And in other medical news, it's funny, we have like a theme today with medical miracles. The world's oldest baby was born. Oldest embryo, anyway, because the egg was frozen in 1994. And there are ethical questions, but let's admit it here. This is kind of amazing, isn't it, that can even happen? It's a miracle. It's a miracle we're all here. Thanks for finding me. All right, let's get right to it. You're going to like this. You're going to like this a lot. I told you, crazy news continues, but it's not all bad. American Eagle, the jeans company, the clothing company, has made a statement about the Sydney Sweeney ad. Many times last week in the live stream, in the podcast, I talked about the woke outrage mob, calling this a call for fascism, this play on words on jeans and Sydney Sweeney, and how dare they put an attractive female, blonde, blue-eyed with big boobs in an ad. It's fascism. Almost all of the world sees that as ridiculous now. That's the first thing that should make you feel great, because they are insane, the outrage mob. They're nuts. It was mostly very self-hated, ugly people who were against the ad. And now American Eagle has responded. Oh, and by the way, the jeans are selling out left and right. Massive, massive success. Which means other companies will follow suit in their advertising. Prioritizing and celebrating the beauty of the American female body is back, and it's not going away. It's the first piece of good news. The second is we got a company now in American Eagle that's not backing down to the outrage mob. I can't love this enough. Here's the official statement. Sydney Sweeney has great genes, is and always was about the genes. Can we go back to that for a second? It was a play on words. Her genes, her story. See, I like what they did there in the statement. They kind of took the playbook away from the lunatic lefties, and they made it about the feminism thing. Very smart. We'll continue, they go on to say, to celebrate how everyone wears their AE jeans with confidence their way. Great jeans look good on everyone. That might be the perfect statement. The perfect statement to end all of this. And they get some extra play off it. Let's be honest about this. It's just a smart advertising move. American Eagle, I salute you, first of all, for not backing down, and secondly, for a very creative ad and response. What kind of ad was this? Oh, I don't know. Let's review just for some
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney's.
Yes, she does have great genes. Yes, she does. But here's more for the outrage mob to dig into, to seethe about. So BuzzFeed, I can't believe they're still in existence, but they still are. It's just a horrible media outlet. They dug up Sydney Sweeney's voting records. Dun, dun, dun. First shocking thing to me was I didn't know she was a Florida resident. I had no idea. Interesting. I'll have to keep my eyes open on the road for great genes. Right. And they also dug deeper, and they found that she had registered before as a Republican in the state of Florida. Oh my God. Oh, oh. Not only is the ad a call for fascism with the jeans, oh, she's a registered Republican. How dare her have a mind of her own and go against the left-wing media hypocrisy out in Hollywood. Oh my God. Well, this will really send the outrage mob over the edge. But I thought this was hilarious. So some reporter just got the hold of this story, and they caught up with Trump on the tarmac heading to, I think it was Marine One, not Air Force One. Either way, it's loud in the background. But he got this reaction, and this is how he felt about that piece of news.
Any thoughts on that?
That who was?
Sydney Sweeney. She's like a very hot actress right now.
She's a registered Republican?
Yes.
Oh, now I love her ad. Is that right? Is Sydney Sweeney? You'd be surprised at how many people are Republicans.
First of all, that's just a funny as hell response to that kind of thing. You know, even if you don't like Trump, you can't not admire how that guy thinks on his feet. I mean, that's just a funny reaction. But there's something, a little nugget in there of truth that's really important, what he said in there. He said, you know, comes back to the reporter and kind of a wink, wink, nod, nod, and says, you'd be amazed at how many people actually vote Republican, referring to celebrities, but are afraid to talk about it. And we've heard stories back and forth over the years that there's a lot of people in entertainment that actually have their own opinions, but they're afraid to say them because they want to still work. You know, they don't want to get blacklisted. Who would know that better than Trump? And he kind of hinted around at that. So it's kind of amazing. I have to wonder, too. I wouldn't imagine that Sydney Sweeney's going to come out with any kind of a statement that apologizes for how she's voted in the past because BuzzFeed decided to dig it up. But you got to wonder if stuff like this happens and a big brand like American Eagle decides not to back down, if how soon or how long it's going to take for celebrities to come out and say, yeah, I'm not backing down. This is how I feel about certain things. I don't know. It would still be better if celebrities keep their political opinions to themselves. But again, this is different. She didn't want to get this information out there. They dug up her records. Not her fault. All right, that was fun. See, I told you it's not all bad news. It's good news there. Company not backing down. Let's go to the swamp, though, for some serious news very quickly. Now, while the investigation continued and the talking heads were talking about Russia collusion, who's behind that? Wink, wink, nod, nod. I think we know. And also the story about the border and the jobs report and all this other crap that comes out of national news. Very quietly, maybe, the biggest story of all time came out. This is what I voted for. And I don't care whether you're left, right, blue, red, whatever the hell you want to call yourself. Everybody should be in favor of having secured elections. This is one of my major voting points, going back to every election, in fact. Well, they've started. The report is the Department of Justice is cleaning up the voter rolls, calling on all states to provide what they have, and they're hinting around at the thought of an audit. This one's audio only. Let's go to Fox News with the report. This came out on Saturday, where they're going to make a big push for this one.
Trump administration looking to boost election integrity as the DOJ opens a nationwide investigation into voter rolls. The department is calling on local officials to identify felons, dead voters, and also non-citizens who might have cast a ballot. David.
Now, okay, that's just the beginning of the story here. Kind of sums up exactly where they're going with this. And so far, anyway, I mean, what have we learned about this administration, the Trump administration 2.0 so far? When they leak out this news and they start to identify what they're going to do, especially through the Department of Justice, whether successful or not, they jump on it right away. In other words, seems to be the pattern so far with this administration. They'll send out a press release or make a press conference, tell the media outlets what they're going to do. So far, anyway, I think their MO is they're already starting to work on it. You know what I mean? So they can kind of like send out a test balloon, see what the public, see what the base feels about this, and then they start to get to work on it. So apparently, reportedly, this has already started now to clean up the voting rolls, and they're starting to put the screws to every single state elections office, all 50 of them, to clean up their voting rolls. Here's the most important thing of the entire story out of all of that. Just besides the fact that it seems like shocking they're actually doing this, right? We shouldn't even have to get to this point, but they are. Here's the real story. So far, and they're expected to hear from more, so far 2 states are already pushing back, making statements saying they're not going to do this. I know, it's incredible, but it's happening. Minnesota, and Maine, with more on the way, expected to push back. Get this, just even saying it sounds bizarre. To push back against cleaning up their voting rules and providing the Department of Justice, the federal Department of Justice, with the information they need to get rid of dead voters, illegal voters, people that shouldn't be voting, duplicate votes, voting schemes, all of it. So far, and those two words are the story, so far, 2 states already pushing back, Maine and Minnesota. Now, in my little pea brain, I'm thinking, well, if there was a call from the Department, state, company, agency, anything, to show your work, and they push back on it, I may be simplistic here, but that tells me you are crooked as hell and you're trying to cheat. That's just my takeaway. So that's going to be frustrating. This is going to be a massive legal challenge as the Department of Justice, God forbid, tries to clean up our voting rules and secure our elections, right? The pushback on this is going to be infuriating. It's going to drive you crazy. It's going to be insane. It's going to be maddening. It's going to seem bizarre we're even in this world. Here's the great thing. Here's the great takeaway on this. It's going to expose all of the rats. In this case, they're giant rats because they're states, right? The schemes are going to be unveiled on who's, first of all, look for the states who's pushing back. Look for the major political figures who are pushing back because those are the rats. Those are the people trying to cheat elections. And they're going to be exposed. Now, in this administration, they may not get this done, but they're going to roll this wheel down the hill, and the process is already going to be started to clean up the voter rolls, despite the pushback, which I know is unbelievable that there are states even pushing back. Because if you have fair elections, there's no cheating going on, there's going to be plenty of states going, yeah, look at our books. Great. We're proud of this. We're proud of, because you know what? We're a state that cleaned up our own voter rolls before you even came to us. So we would love to brag about this. Those are the good ones. Watch out for the rats. But the good news is they expose themselves in the sunlight. It's going to be great. That's going to be awesome. All right, this is horrifying. I intentionally held back on this story because I'm still reeling from it. There was an op-ed that came out late last week, and it made a lot of headway. It really gained a lot of traction. I would even dare say it went viral over the weekend. An op-ed in the New York Times. Say what you will about the New York Times, but there's still plenty of people who, they're still very influential in certain circles. Washington, the business world, and the medical community, which is what our story here is all about. I'm going to read you the headline of the op-ed, the title of the op-ed, and you tell me your immediate reaction to this and the first thing you think of. This is the op-ed. I'll tell you about the guy that wrote it in just a second. Ready? Donor organs are too rare. We need a new definition of death. Yeah, I'll read it again. Donor organs are too rare. Right there, it would have been interesting, and most people would have said, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, you know what? Is there a lot of people who are organ? I'm an organ donator for now. We need a new definition of death. What are they talking about here? Let me go on. I'm not going to read the whole thing because you really don't need to read too far into this to realize how dark this is. Now, the guy that wrote it is Sandeep Johar. In promoting this and getting it out there, he put on his X account, and I'm sure maybe Instagram or Facebook too, I don't know, but this is from X. This is what he says. Death is not simply a biological fact, but it's also a social choice. To increase the number of donor organs, we should expand the definition of death. And then he goes, he links the op-ed. What does it say in the op-ed? The need for donor organs is urgent. An estimated 15 people die in this country every day waiting for a transplant. We got to figure out how to obtain more healthy organs from donors while maintaining strict ethical standards. Right. Here's the real interesting part. New technologies can help, but the best solution, we believe, is legal. We need to broaden the definition of death. Even that headline is one of the darkest things I have ever seen in my entire life or even heard. Like, I can't believe they even came out with that. Now, not my job, and I don't know why you would listen to me anyway for medical advice or what you want to do with your body or how you want to be cremated, what you do with your family. I totally understand that. I'm just giving you my opinion. I already have a very, very healthy distrust of the overall medical system that we have. I just do. That's just me, personal experience, what I've learned throughout the years, blah, blah, blah. They also have a very unhealthy trust of the health insurance and medical insurance industry. Again, that's just me. Do what you want, whatever. But I saw this, and I read this, and I looked into it and saw some of the reaction from the people supporting this, and I said, yeah, I'm going to look into ways to get my name off the donor registry because they're insane. I don't trust, like the guy who wrote this and his co-authors, I don't trust them to make the decision on how dead I am. It's crazy to even say that. Not if I'm dead, how dead I am. Like, how does it work? Well, he's got a 5% chance of making it through. You know, I'm in the recovery room, I'm in the ICU. He's got a 5% chance. According to our new definitions, that's close enough. Pull the plug. What if I don't have a health advocate? What if I can't speak for myself. I'd be out of it, right? I'd be all, drugged up and everything else. What if I don't have a health advocate in my room at the time with my family? Even if they are there in the hospital, but they decided to go on a coffee break, right? You know, they're out of the room for a couple of minutes over at 2 o'clock in the morning. All of a sudden, a doctor decides to pull the plug on me and start harvesting my organs. There's something very wrong with this. And again, I'll say it again. I don't want to talk you or scare you into any of this kind of stuff. But the fact that this is out there, this is insane to me that they're even pushing this out there. This is so insanely dark. And I'll throw this out there as well. Why is it even an issue? It's organ donation. Everybody loves that, right? This same outlet, and I wanted to go to the New York Times for this because it's, comparing apples to apples. They had another op-ed about organ donation it was July 20th. No, it was July, I don't know the date, but it was 2020. And it said this, same outlet, a push for more organ transplants putting donors at risk. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? That's really interesting. So in conversations with friends and family that I have, because like I said, I've always been an organ donor. I've always thought, well, it's a great thing. Everybody should do that, right? Yeah, I'm rethinking that now. And again, it's the fourth time I said it, personal choice. I'm not trying to influence you either way on that. But interesting. There are so many searches after this article. This is what they don't understand. They're scaring people away from donating organs now. One of the number one searches on search engines this weekend after this article came out was how to get your name off the organ donor list. This is what happens. It's a natural result. And if you're interested in that, plenty of information out there. You can identify your state's donor registry, update your status online, visit the DMV, or they have a form to get your name off there. You can update your driver's license ID. You can check registries if necessary. Certainly talk to your family. And if there's a good piece of news on this whole thing, it opens up the discussion, with your friends and family and what you want to do with this in case something really goes bad. And then you can search specific states to see where you are on this. My choice. But I cannot believe that was even a headline. Cannot believe it. Incredible. So that's the dark side really dark side of, I'll call it the medical community. Let's go to something bright, because I know there are ethical concerns in this story. I understand that. There are a lot of people actually upset about this one. Personally, I'm fascinated by this. Not to get into the morality of it or the medical ethics of it, but what if an egg that was harvested from a lady in 1994 was just born in the form of a baby boy this past weekend? Because it happened. They're calling him the world's oldest baby because of when the eggs were harvested. Linda and Tim Pierce's son, Thaddeus, was born. The egg originally came from 1994. Let's go to the story on this to explain it a little bit better. Here's, I think it's ABC News with the story.
Right now, doctors are marveling at what's being called the world's oldest baby. The Ohio boy was born from an embryo frozen in 1994, and he was conceived in a lab by a couple using IVF, which was relatively new at the time. His adoptive parents found the embryo through a Christian adoption embryo agency. And so for more on all this, I want to bring in...
Wow, that is That is something. It's amazing to me that they can actually do that, and the egg survived. And he went out to talk to a doctor who said, really, the only risk is the health of the mother at egg donation time to be frozen. That's the most important factor. Then, of course, through the IVF, thing. I know there are a lot of people who are against IVF. I know, for religious reasons, whatever. But can we just take, especially after the dark organ transplant story, can we at least take the medical miracle that this is and appreciate it for what it is? I mean, this 1994. Of course, my thought was, what if the kid comes out and he grows up as a child of the 90s? With all that sensibility, right? Because we all know kids who are from the 90s, and that may be you right now, you're a lot different than the kids that were born 10 years ago. You were a lot tougher. You were a lot less woke. What if the kid comes out with all the characteristics of the mid-90s? That would be great. Anyway, take that for what you will. But the main takeaway is don't back down from anybody like that American Eagle brand, because they didn't. And the result is they're winning. How about that? See? Crazy news as always, but not all of it bad. It's how you kind of reprocess this and make it work for yourself. Thanks for finding me. I appreciate you as always. Wicked Radio live stream. If you're watching this or listening later on, put notifications on and follow. I appreciate you. Audio only listeners, just press subscribe on whatever podcast platform you like, and you'll get it there too, and notifications on as well. Thanks for finding me, and we will talk to you tomorrow.